morning, afternoon, or evening. Welcome to Spooky. I'm talking Waffles. I'm your host, Ileana. So I hope your week is off to a better start than mine. Yeah, let me tell you what's happened. So basically, yesterday, which when I'm recording this is a Saturday, so this was Friday. Friday, I had such a bad migraine starting at like 10 a.m. and I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm dying. And so I had like meetings and work, and I'm like working through the day, getting my stuff done, but my head is like blowing up basically the whole time. And I'm like, oh my goodness, like, am I dying? And so as soon as I finish work, I'm like, okay, it is time to rest my head, and hopefully like a nap will help, because it typically does. And like, I think I've explained before that I am very prone to migraines even before the concussion. It's just like some genetic thing. Like everybody in my family gets pretty bad migraines, especially if it's going to like rain or something. Like the pressure goes down, gives me a headache. So basically I'm like, okay, it's not raining, so like, what's going on? Like, I ate a lot of food, I drank a lot of water, like, I did all the healthy things that you're supposed to keep your body good, but I still had this horrible, horrible headache, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I need to go to sleep. So 5 p.m. rolls around, and I tuck myself into the bed, close my eyes, close the blinds, and just sleep. And I continued to sleep. And so I actually slept from 5 until 3 a.m. And I woke up at 3 a.m. to just drink some water and stuff. And then I'm like, oh, I'm not really that tired anymore because I slept so long. And my headache was gone, which was great. And it was storming outside. I could hear it. Obviously, I had the blinds over, so I couldn't see it. But when I woke up later, so I just kind of chilled, played on my phone for a little bit, and then I went back to bed. And when I woke up in the morning and put the blinds up, it was so stormy, which makes sense why I had the headache. And it was so stormy that I couldn't see like past like a couple houses. Like it was that kind of foggy, rainy, hard kind of storm. And I was like, okay, that makes sense why I had like that bad headache. So that was a little frustrating because there was a lot of stuff that I wanted to do on Friday, like laundry, get groceries, like all of that. And I just couldn't because of that migraine. So that wasn't really a good start to my weekend. And then I went to go hang out with my friend, and I ended up buying some nail polish because I've been wanting to paint my nails for a while. And I was like, woohoo, like I'm so excited. Like I've been looking forward to this for a very long time. And I put the nail polish on the counter. And then unfortunately, when my boyfriend came out of the shower, he had accidentally knocked over my nail polish, and it shattered and it spilt all over the floor. It got on the walls, on the door, and I was like, oh no, like what happened? So I grabbed like paper towel and stuff, and I come in, and he's like, I'm so sorry, like I didn't mean to, like it fell over, and like I hit it with my towel, and like he was okay, thank goodness. Like no glass got on him. Like he did get a bunch of nail polish down the back of his leg, but it's better than getting a bunch of glass shards, so that was good. So we cleaned up to the best of our ability, but we're gonna have to buy some paint because we could not get it off the walls. Like we did our best, but we could not get it off the walls. The floor was way better to get it off of, honestly. Like that cleaned up pretty well, but the walls are white and the nail polish was maroon, so that was not a good mix. So we cleaned it as best we can. We're gonna get some paint and just like paint over the walls and hope it doesn't look ghetto, but I think it would look better than the maroon that's splashed. It looked like a murder scene, honestly. Like I didn't know what happened, and so I hear like a shatter, and then like I come over to see what happened, and there's just like maroon everywhere, like down his leg and all over the floor, and it looked like he killed someone, but it was just nail polish and everything's fine. So we cleaned it up. I'm gonna get some more tomorrow, so not really a good start to my weekend, but I mean, there are worse things that could happen. So yeah, I hope your weekend was off to a better start, and I hope your week's off to a better start. But yeah, with that aside, of course, we're still in spooky season, so I thought today what we could talk about are scary and not so scary horror movies to kind of get you into that Halloween mood. Obviously, it's coming up soon, and October is the month of scary movies. So these are, my opinion, movies that are great to watch and I enjoyed. and also movies that just scared me so much that I've mentioned them before because they scared me so much. So without further ado, let's talk movies and waffles. So I thought I would start off with not so scary movies and then move on to scary movies. So the not so scary movie that I talk about first is the 1996 Scream movie. Now, the movie itself, it's not like super scary, and it's not like not scary. Like, it won't give you nightmares. It's a little gory, but basically it's about this girl whose mom had passed away, and she and her friends start getting like these really weird phone calls. And it actually turns out that these phone calls are coming from like a serial killer guy who wears like that white face mask, which you may know as like the Scream mask, and like a really big, large black robe. And he's looking for revenge. And when he calls them, he asks them like some questions, with one of the main ones, of course, being like, what's your favorite scary movie? And like other scary movie trivia stuff. And yeah, there's a lot of death, a lot of murder, and there's a bit of like a twist at the end about like who the killer is. And yeah, I think it's really cool. It does a good job at telling the story. It has scary moments, it is gory, but it's definitely under a not so scary list in my opinion. The next one on the not so scary horror movie list is the 2017 Happy Death Day movie. Now, this movie, it's not really that scary. It's kind of funny, to be honest. Like, it has some funny moments, but it has like that mix of mystery and thriller, and of course a little bit of horror in there because it is like a slasher film. So essentially the storyline is about a teenage girl who's like trying to enjoy like her birthday, but it's actually her final one. Basically meaning that she keeps on getting killed over and over on her birthday, and she has to continue to relive that day over and over and continuing to die in different ways each time. So the plot basically follows like her reliving that day and trying to identify who the murderer is, like who is killing her. And that's the only way that she'll be able to survive and stop reliving that day. And so it's really just about her trying to figure out like, who is killing me? Like, why am I being killed? And so I really like the time loop aspect of it. Something about those kind of movies always stand out to me, and I always find them really fascinating, be it like TV show or book or movie. So it has a really interesting premise, and it is kind of funny. It's a little lame sometimes, I must say, but it's a fun film to watch when you just want to like watch something that won't keep you up at night, but you want to enjoy some good popcorn and like the horror vibes. So that's another one I recommend. And last but certainly not least, again, these are not in any particular order. It's just the order that I remembered the movies that I would recommend. And this one is, for not so scary, the 2009 movie Coraline. So, although it is technically a kid's movie, it's actually really, really dark. So the storyline is basically about a young 11-year-old girl named Coraline, and she moves into an old house that she feels really bored in, and she feels really neglected by her parents. So the plot basically follows how she finds like a hidden door with like a bricked up passage, and at the night, like during the night, she basically like crosses this passage and finds a parallel world where everybody has buttons instead of eyes. And she has like parents who care about her, they're not neglecting her, and all of the dreams she ever wanted come true in this basically universe. As well, there's this character known as the Other Mother who like creeps me out so much. And she basically is trying to get Coraline to stay in this world forever. And when Coraline refuses, she finds out that this reality is basically like a whole trick to lure and trap her. And that's all I really want to say for it, because I don't want to spoil it, but it's really good. It's technically a horror movie for children, but I think that it's really, really well done. It's stop motion, it's drama, it's fantasy, it's thriller, and it's as dark as you can get for a PG movie. And honestly, I'm a huge fan of it, and I really like it. Another one along similar trains would be Corpse Bride, the 2005 film. Now, this one is, I don't think it's scary, like, at all, but it definitely has like that kind of spooky vibe. So this can be like our own category called not scary movies, and it's also like one of those stop motion animation movies, and it's set in the 1800s in a Victoria village, and basically there's like a man and a woman, and they're supposed to get married, but they need to get money or like they'll be living in this like the streets and stuff, and they want to be in like a higher society. So essentially, things go wrong at their wedding rehearsal, and the main male character, Victor, goes into the woods to like practice these vows just to make sure he can get them right. And then he accidentally finds himself married to Emily, like this corpse bride, and his like wife to be is just like waiting on the other side, and there's like a guy who might try and take this guy's like soon to be wife away from him, and he ends up like, and he's with like this corpse bride now, and it's really bizarre, but it's like trying to explain it, but it's really fun. It's horror for children, it's gothic horror, and it's just a fun movie. It's PG and musical, so if you're into that, I recommend that. Now it's time for scary movies that scared me so much that they honestly haunted me for a very long time, and these are these movies. So the first one I would mention is the 2002 film The Ring. Of course, that's R-I-N-G, not R-I-N. The storyline for this one is basically about a woman named Rachel Keller, who's a journalist investigating a videotape that may have killed like 4 teenagers, with one of them actually being her niece. And so this videotape has like an urban legend surrounding it where the viewer will die like 7 days after watching it. And basically, obviously, if this legend is right, then this main character, Rachel, is gonna have to basically run against time to like save her son's life, save her own life, and like solve what is going on with that videotape. It's horror, it's mystery. It scared me a lot, I must say. I watched it when I was 10 years old. It was the first horror movie I ever watched. And my oldest sister was like, yep, like this is a horror movie I recommend. And I'm like, okay. And I watched it and it scared me forever. Like this is that movie where that famous like scene is with the girl coming out of the TV. That's where this comes from. And yeah, it's super scary. I cannot watch it still because it scares me so much. So I definitely recommend it if you haven't seen it already, or if you want to watch it again. You should, because it's really good. Next up, we have the 2013 movie The Conjurin. Now, this movie scared me too. And basically, it takes place in 1971, and it's about a woman named Caroline and her husband Roger. And they are basically moving their family into like this farmhouse, and like really creepy, strange things start happening. Like as you do when you're a nice family and then you move into a house somewhere, there's always some like drama. It's just like, it's very generic, but this movie does it in a really good way. Basically, the main lady, Caroline, she contacts like paranormal investigators to take a look at the house. And it turns out that the whole area is in like a satanic haunting kind of area that's like targeting this family wherever they go. So if they go somewhere like to a different house, like they're still gonna follow them. And so obviously they don't want this to happen. So they have to like use like skills and like spiritual things to kind of like defeat the bad guys and destroy like all the bad stuff going on so they don't get destroyed in turn. So it is a movie a lot about like exorcism and possession, like haunted houses. It's horror, mystery, thriller. It was scary. I would watch it again for sure. Like, it's not nearly as scary as The Ring, but it was a really creepy film, and I'm pretty sure, if I recall correctly, that's where that Annabelle doll is from, and I hate that Annabelle doll. It gives me nightmares. It's just gross. So it's pretty sure it's from this series. So yeah, there's like a whole series of these films as well. So yeah, they're fun. They're good. I like them. I recommend them. And just know that they're not as scary, but they're definitely up in the scary world, at least for me. Oh goodness. The next movie we have is Insidious, the 2010 movie. I'm like looking at the trailer picture, like the movie picture, and it's giving me goosebumps. I can't look at it. This movie scares me so much. I can't rewatch this movie. Basically, the story is about a family who's in search for help for their son, Dalton, who falls into a coma after like a mysterious incident like in their attic. And basically, there's way more to this like coma than it originally seems because it's very paranormal. And basically, these people have to understand like the past and like to really understand like what the heck is happening. That way they can get their son back. And it scares me so much. Like, there are so many scenes in that movie. There's like that one where they're in the kitchen and like the monster just comes out and just like screams and disappears. That is super scary. I remember I watched that with some of my siblings, that movie, and my dad was asleep, and then like the alarm in the movie started going off, and my dad like jolts awake because he thinks that like someone's breaking in the house. We're like, no, it's just the movie. And he's like, oh, okay. And then he went back to sleeping because dads always sleep when you're watching movies. And there's also like, I was so scared. Like, I don't want to spoil it too much. Basically, in the movie, the kid's soul detaches from his body, which leaves room for like a demon to possess it and take over the body. And I was so scared that was gonna happen to me as a kid. Like, I was so scared to fall asleep because I didn't want my soul to come out of my body and like a demon to possess it and like take it over and stuff. So that was really scary. This movie is terrifying. Honestly, it's one of the scariest movies I've ever seen. Yeah, it's scary. If you haven't seen it, definitely watch it. It's good. You probably won't sleep after you watch it, but I definitely recommend it because it's terrifying. And of course, I wanted to throw in an older classic as well because obviously we had Scream in the not so scary. This one, for the scary, is Poltergeist, the 1982 film. Now, Poltergeist is basically a movie about a young family who are visited by ghosts in their home. And at first, like, the ghosts seem kind of funny and friendly, and they're like moving objects around the house, and everyone's like, haha, like, that's so fun and kind of amusing, like a little bit weird, but, you know, and they stack up all the chairs and stuff. However, there are ulterior motives, and these ghosts suddenly turn like really nasty, and they start terrorizing the family before they actually kidnap the youngest daughter. And it's really good. It's a paranormal investigation, like haunting ghost story, and I really like it. I think they did a really well job. It's very, very well known. If I recall correctly, that's where the like I see you, like it comes from this movie. This is also that movie where like the house gets like sucked into like, I don't know what that then was, like a portal or a sinkhole. I haven't seen this movie in a very long time, but along those lines, like this movie is very well known. It's a classic horror thriller. You can never go wrong with it. It is scary, and if I remember correctly, this movie also, there is that scene. So the main, like one of the main characters, like the adult woman, is like swimming through like this tin of corpses, and it turns out like in real life they were actually like real human heads, like real human skulls or something, and they didn't know until after. Like I don't know how they mixed up, like how they even got real human skulls in that scene, or maybe some of them were real human skulls. But yeah, that was super weird and really interesting. This movie has a lot of cool trivia, so definitely recommend that you check it out and then check out the trivia as well because it's really cool. And then this is a bonus. Now this movie, I didn't really think it's scary, so I probably should have put in the not scary, but I wanted to save it for last because I absolutely love this remake. It 2017 as well as It Chapter 2, I don't have the year currently in front of me, but it's probably 2018, 2019, is amazing. I am obsessed. So the first movie, like the original, like I believe it was made in the 80s, that movie is completely different than the new remake. But honestly, this is like one of the rare occasions where I think that the remake is better than the original. So essentially the storyline of this is in the town of Derry, there are a bunch of local kids who start disappearing one by one. And there's a place known as like the Barrens, and that's where the group of like the main characters, 7 kids, are kind of united because they all had like horrifying and like strange encounters with like this evil clown, and they all want to kill it basically. And it's really, really good because the first part, so this is It Chapter 1 and there's It Chapter 2. It Chapter 1 is really good because it really builds on the characters and it focuses on them when they were kids and like all the horrible things that they had to go through because of this clown. And the pacing, like everything about this movie is just so good. I'm such a nerd for it at this point. I love it. And then the second one wraps everything up because now they're adults, and like the first movie like really, really got you to understand who the characters are and like why you should care about them. And then the second one, like it's gonna hurt you more because you've grown to love these characters. So when the characters are in trouble or they're hurt or if they die or anything like that, like it sucks because they do such a good job on building the relationship with the characters. So that's what I really, really love about the new remake. And I highly, highly recommend it. It's probably my favorite horror movie series kind of thing of all time. So I really do put it on a pedestal, but I love it that much. So yeah, those are the movies that I recommend if you're looking for some great movies for spooky season. I know that I am definitely going to be rewatching some of them. Obviously not Insidious or The Ring because those movies scare me way too much and I'm a wimp, so I'm not going to be doing those. But yeah, so thanks so much for spending some more time listening to me ramble on about things. Don't forget to follow I'm Talking Waffles on social media, subscribe to the YouTube, follow the Facebook, the Twitter, Instagram, all of that jazz. And of course, we have I'm Talking Waffles merch. If you haven't picked it up already, head over to the imtalkingwaffles.ca website, click on merch. You'll be redirected to the site where I host my merch, and feel free to pick some up. They're pretty cool. I wear my I'm walking waffles. I wear my I'm Talking Waffles t-shirt and sweater all the time, and they are really comfortable and really nice. My dad uses the I'm Talking Waffles cup all the time, and my boyfriend's mom also has an I'm Talking Waffles cup that she loves dearly. At least I hope so. She told me she liked it last time we talked about it. But yeah, everybody likes their merch. I love the merch. Everybody who has it has given thumbs up. So check it out and support the show. So with that, it is now time for everybody's favorite part of the show. That's right. It's the fun fact of the day. So today's fun fact is, dun da da! Due to the marketing around the Blair Witch Project, some people were actually convinced that the actor Heather Donahue was actually dead and sent her mother sympathy cards. At the time of the release, so many people believed that the events in the film were actually real. And on the film's official website, they had fake police reports and missing flyers for the cast, which were handed out at screenings. Additionally, all the Blair Witch actors all agreed to stay in character while filming, but if they needed a timeout or wanted to comment on something, they would use the code word taco. So yeah, I know the Blair Witch Project wasn't on my list of horror movies. That's because I've never seen it. It's on the list of movies for me to watch. And one day I'm sure I will. An honorable mention would be the movie The Sixth Sense, which was really good. And it scared me. It's where that famous quote, "I see dead people" comes from. And I also watched that when I was 10 years old with my oldest sister. And that was an interesting time. That movie scared me a lot as well because I wondered, am I dead? I don't know. Yeah, so with that, I'm going to bid you a great rest of your morning, great rest of your evening, great rest of your night, great rest of your apocalypse, and of course, a great rest of your horror movie watching. Okay, bye!